less than in the same world, the same opportunity. Why do some people live at ease, weightless, yet still touch the peak of glory, while others are forever imprisoned in busyness, grim and exhausted? The difference does not lie in the account balance, nor does it lie in the luck of fate. It lies in the operating system inside the brain. One side is the scarcity mindset, always fearful, always feeling a lack, and trying to accumulate infinitely. The other side is the wisdom of the Lagom philosophy, always knowing how to determine the optimal point. Are you possessing the winner's mindset, or are you carrying the chains of a soul that is poor? Imagine two guests in a grand banquet. The first person sees the glamour. They fear that the food will run out. They hurriedly fill the plate. In anxiety, they eat, but do not taste. They possess much, but are instead, by the fullness, made weary. The second person only takes a small portion, enough to satisfy the body. They slowly savor each layer of flavor within absolute freedom. They do not possess the entire banquet, but they instead are the one who is happiest. That is the reflection of two types of mindset: living in excess and living lagom. I was once imprisoned in the thirst to have more. I once believed that the more assets, the fewer worries, before realizing sustainable happiness only begins when we are brave enough to establish the limits for all desires. Amidst a world going mad over materialism, if you see yourself putting in effort, yet still standing still, if you are racing, but seeing no finish line, please stay a while, so that we can go through together today's journey. Your presence at this moment is not a coincidence. It is the motivation for me to share the beautiful values of a lifestyle enduring like the Swedes, where just enough is the peak of luxury. In the next 30 minutes, we will together open 3 doors of awakening. Part 1. Lagom Mathematics. Why less brings more prosperity. Decoding the law of marginal utility from an economic perspective. Part 2. The Fika Ritual. The secret weapon to regenerate peak productivity based on the mechanism of neurology. Part 3. Lagom Architecture. The practical way for you to manually redesign the value system and receive prosperity in peace. Do not just learn English. Learn how to build a sturdy kingdom inside the mind. A kingdom that does not come with exhaustion or regret. Only 30 minutes for us to restructure the entire operating system of yours. Let us begin. Part 1. The Math of Enough. The Logic of Limits. Why? In the World Happiness Report of the United Nations, does Sweden always rank within the top 10 countries? The answer does not lie in the GDP index, gross domestic product, but lies in a calculation of limits. The Swedish social system operates based on the philosophy of social justice and moderation. To understand Lagom, We must analyze the law of diminishing marginal utility in economics. Look at consumption data. The first glass of water, when the body is parched, brings maximum satisfaction. But from the second glass to the 10th glass, the chart of satisfaction starts to go down and finally reaches the threshold of negative value. At this point, excess is no longer a benefit, it becomes a burden of biology and storage costs. The modern world is dominated by the illusion of infinite growth, but the Swedes have identified the saturation point, lagom, where every addition reduces quality of life. Professor Barry Schwartz from Swarthmore College has proven the paradox of choice in an experiment on behavior. When the number of purchase options increased from 6 to 30, the rate of closing sales dropped from 30% to only 3%. Information overload causes the brain to fall into a state of analysis paralysis. Every item you hoard comes with opportunity cost. You are trading lifetime and personal freedom to manage unnecessary materials. Research from Stockholm University points out that households owning belongings exceeding need thresholds by 30% have concentrations of the hormone cortisol in the blood significantly higher than the average level. This leads to chronic stress and reduced decision-making ability. Lagom is the mathematics of resource optimization. Look at the design model, democratic design, of the IKEA Corporation. Every product must pass 5 criteria: function, quality, form, sustainability, and low price. If a detail does not bring practical value, it will be removed immediately. This is the way the Swedes protect Earth's resources and the space of the human mind. The situation of credit debt and household waste in industrial countries is evidence of the lack of a stopping point in thinking. Lagom teaches us that knowing enough is not giving up. It is a strategic choice to retain energy and money for truly important goals. Sustainable happiness only appears when marginal utility reaches the level of balance, and we dare to refuse excess to embrace freedom. Look at financial data and the living space of your own. Which part is exceeding the threshold of saturation? Please comment a number or an item you will remove based on Lagom mathematics. Philosophy. Knowing enough is the foundation of economic freedom and wealth. In the mind, break time equals 3's greater than less than. Part 2. The Fika Ritual. The biology of peak performance. If Part 1 is a problem of matter, then Part 2 is exactly an anatomy of energy. Data from the OECD shows that Sweden is one of the countries with labor productivity among the highest in the world. even though the number of actual working hours is less than many great powers. The secret lies in the Fika ritual, not just drinking coffee. Fika is a process of resetting the nervous system. Science proves the brain operates according to biological rhythms, ultradian rhythms. Every 90 minutes of deep focus, neurons will fall into a state of energy depletion. At this time, adenosine concentration, a byproduct of the process of energy consumption, will accumulate in the gaps, synapses, causing the condition, brain fog, reducing the ability to solve problems. Complex. The world out there often uses caffeine to inhibit, temporarily, the feeling of fatigue, but the Swedes use Fika to perform a cleaning mechanism. The system, 15 minutes, leaving the screen, leaving the work, to truly connect socially. This mechanism activates the network, default mode network, of the brain. This is when brain regions that are unrelated or linked to process subconscious information and bring forth ideas. Most creative research from Lund University followed a group of employees practicing Fika and a group working continuously. Results showed the group resting in Lagom Style maintained mental clarity higher by 45% at the end of the day. This rest also activates the glymphatic system. Glymphatic system, the process of cleaning toxins, excess proteins in the brain, helping you return to the desk with a brain that has been refreshed completely. Analyze cortisol concentration, the stress hormone. When you try to force yourself beyond the limit threshold, elevated cortisol will cause inflammation of the nervous system, leading to the condition chronic exhaustion, burnout. Fika is exactly the Lagom point of recovery. It helps the concentration of dopamine, the happiness hormone, be released in a natural way through human interaction with humans, helping to rebalance the psychological state, staying away from the syndrome of always being busy. Toxic busyness. In modern management, busyness is often confused with efficiency, but data on occupational health in Northern Europe proves that working more than 8 hours a day will increase the error rate by double due to the decline in the ability to control behavior of the frontal lobe. Lagom in labor energy is knowing how to reload, load the bullets for the gun of one's capacity. Do not wait until the body collapses to find a way to heal. Include rest in the system of daily operation. That is not laziness. That is respecting biological laws. Endurance is more important than momentary speed. If you realize this, scientific data needs to be known more widely to save the souls that are exhausting around the world. Spend 1 second to press like for this video. Your support is exactly the resource to let the message of balance surpass all borders, touching anyone who is stuck in the vortex of overload. Global. Do not forget to share this content to the people you cherish. That is the way we, together, build a society more mindful. Look back at the schedule each day. How much do you spend in silent moments? Truly, without the intervention of technology, will you commit to perform Fika at what time? Please comment the time slot for your rest so that we together create a community working smart across the world. Philosophy. Resting strategically is exactly the foundation of peak productivity and is the way you cherish life. Break time equals threes greater than less than part 3. Practical ways to design a Lagom life. We have gone through mathematics and biology. Now is the time to hold the blueprint and build the kingdom of your own. Lagom is not a theory, it is a practice based on the understanding of behavioral psychology. Let us start with the first pillar, Lagom finance, and the syndrome of hedonic adaptation. Science proves when you buy a new item, the brain will release dopamine, creating a feeling of instant euphoria, but only after a short time, the happiness level will return to the old baseline. You fall back into the thirst for the next purchase, more expensive, to find that feeling again. It is an endless loop of deficiency. The Swedes break this loop with the mindset of investing in core values. They apply the rule cost per wear instead of looking at the initial price. One item of high quality used for 10 years is Lagom. 10 items inexpensive broken after a month is exactly toxic waste. The second pillar, Lagom space, and the psychology of clutter. Clutter effect. Research from the Neuroscience Institute, Princeton University, has pointed out that a living environment, overloaded with belongings, competes directly to seize the attention of the brain, increasing the level of chronic cortisol. The clutter in the room is exactly the clutter in the mind. Lagom in space is the act of creating intentional silences. The Swedes adhere to the principle of minimalist design. Every object must be able to prove its value of existence. If it is not useful or not beautiful, it has no place in the home of yours. Emptiness is not deprivation, it is the place for your breath to be free. The third pillar, Lagom relationships and social moderation. In the era of hyper connection, we are stuck in the syndrome, fear of missing out, FOMO. You try to be present at every fun event, only to feel exhausted emotionally. Lagom in relationships is the act of establishing strict boundaries. The quality of connection is always more important than the quantity of links. The Swedes extremely respect privacy. They choose silence to listen deeply instead of uttering words. meaningless. This is exactly the way to preserve social energy, helping you take the best care of the people who are truly important. Designing a Lagom life requires you to face the grim truth. Time and energy of yours are finite. When you say yes to excess, you are saying no to freedom. Busyness is a choice, and peace is also a choice. Do not let society draw upon the map of your life. Hold the Lagom pen and perform strategic subtraction to keep what is truly valuable across time. Wealth, true, is when you no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone with material goods or virtual fame. Among the three pillars: finance, space, relationships, which factor is making you feel suffocated the most right now? Be honest with yourself and comment an action of removal that you will perform today. Philosophy: Lagom is not taking away your joy, it is the way you protect the joys. True. From the invasion of soul waste. Outro: the awakening towards a sustainable future. We have gone through a journey longer than 20 minutes, from the calculations of limits to the biological mechanisms of the brain, and finally, the blueprint for a life of knowing enough. But look broader, beyond the space of the room of yours. Lagom is not only a story, personal, it is a vital solution for a planet that is exhausting. Data from the Global Footprint Network indicates that humanity is consuming resources at 1.75 times the ability to recover of the Earth. We are borrowing the future of our grandchildren to serve the excess momentary of the present. The intoxication material is pushing the ecosystem to the point of reversal. Dangerous. Lagom at this time becomes a value system. Ethical, global, knowing enough on a personal level is exactly the salvation on a species level. Analyze the concept circular economy that Sweden is pioneering, where all matter is redefined. Waste is exactly resource, and consumption is designed to prolong life instead of being destroyed. That is the expansion of Lagom thinking, from the scale of family to the scale of human destiny. You may feel the action of removing an item, or the act of daring to rest, is small, but when millions of operating systems, mindsets, across the world simultaneously switch to the mode of knowing enough, we will create a wave, turning the situation of the global economy, abolishing the dominance of consumerism. Ruthless. The fear of deficiency is exactly the chain largest imprisoning creativity. When you have truly reached the Lagom state, you will realize wealth is not the act of possessing the world, but the fact the world cannot possess you anymore. Sit back in a silent moment. Final look at the hands and the mind of yours. You choose to continue being a link in the machine of consumption, mad, or choose to become the creator of a life with depth and equanimity. Ultimate, the journey of 30 minutes. This is only the beginning. The operating system of yours has been updated. The patch, greatest, named Lagom, bring this awakening into every breath, every decision to shop, and every moment of rest of yours. The change of yours contributes to healing for a world that is cracking. Thank you for accompanying me to the end of the analysis. If the video has touched the deepest part in the mindset of yours, help me spread it by liking, subscribing, and sharing to any soul you think they are in need of a break. Fika, amidst a life stormy, the support of yours is the evidence for the fact we are not alone on the path of seeking balance. Wish you to find the point perfect of your own. Are you ready to live a life Lagom right from this moment? Leave the word Lagom in the comment section as a manifesto for the freedom of yours. See you again in the journeys of liberation. Next, philosophy. When you know what is enough, you are the wealthiest person and the freest person on this planet. Break time equals 3's greater than